Hello, everybody. It's Jake Senzano, host of Jake and Gino podcast here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barber. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
Always making it happen, big man. Today's guest is the founder and CEO of Lightspeed VT. He has helped numerous companies and individuals generate millions, and he will be joining us on stage, Gino, in October for Multifamily Mastery 6. So without further ado, Brad Lea, welcome to the show.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
You're doing great, brother.
Doing good. Our pleasure to have you here. Now we're on a call today. We do a Monday class, and they were talking about origin stories. So I guess that's where we start this thing off. I want to get to know you a little bit better and your background and how you got started in business.
Well, I'm used to answering questions. So if you have any, I'd be happy to answer them. If you just want me to tell a story,
dude, that's what it's all about. So we had this guy, and it's about emotions, not facts. All right, because he says that's what sells. And so the question, to be a little bit more formal, sir, is how did you get started in business? And they were calling it an origin story. So I was being cute, but please feel free to take it away.
Well, again, my origin, is way back here. When I started business, I was already 30 years old.
He said the key to it was starting at 10 years old too, by the way. So I'm not going to get too formal with you here, but.
Well, you guys might have false information because I think originally it probably started when I was 6 years old.
I got you.
Maybe going on 7. It was the day I was touched by Elvis, probably. So a lot of people say, Brad, what do you mean by that? Well, I literally was touched by Elvis, not in a bad way, by the way. Nowadays,
not in the weird Michael Jackson way that we're hearing today, right?
Not in the Michael Jackson way. But my dad and I were on the way to the mall. It was probably, I think it was November 1970, let's say 6. November 1976, on the way to the mall. And my dad's LTD, Ford LTD. I was right in the back seat, no seat belt, like I was dangerous, 6 or 7 years old, living free. This was back when only men had balls. You know what I'm saying?
Those were the days, huh?
Yeah. So my dad pulls over, sees a little commotion over at the hotel, pulls over, finds out we got Elvis Presley in the building. Elvis was there for some sort of concert. So we stumble across where he's staying. So my dad says, "You want to go meet Elvis?" I'm like, "Well, absolutely. Let's go meet Elvis. This is the king, remember?" So we got out, we walked inside, and there was a big old crowd of people being stopped. And ultimately, I just was going in to meet Elvis with my dad. Well, then my dad looked over. He said, "We can't go meet Elvis." I'm like, "Why not?" He says, "Look, they're stopping everybody." So I look over, and instead of me seeing the gates, the guards and the ropes and the problem, I looked over, and as soon as I did, man, I just saw a clear path right through people's legs to his room, and I literally just walked over, went right through everybody's legs, right underneath the velvet rope, right down to the suite door, and boom, the door opens. There's Elvis. Walks out, and 2 bodyguards, by the way. Walks out, taps me on the head, basically pats me on the head and says, "How you doing, little man?" Turns around and walks away. Now, what's the moral of that story? Sometimes you got to look for opportunity, not the problem. See, too many people were looking at the guards and the signs. I didn't even see the guards and the signs. I saw the path. See, and I took it. And by the way, I went right underneath the rope. Guards didn't do anything about it. But anyway, that's the origin story. Elvis touching me on my head. That was the
He's
day
been
I was
blessed, Gino. He's been blessed by the king.
And I also died when I was 2 years old, came back to life. So I might have been blessed by God then, because again, I got a second chance. So then I got touched by Elvis. Then the school sent me packing with these candy bars called World's Finest Chocolate. I was looking around like I had some still. World's Finest Chocolate, and I was supposed to go sell those door to door. And so I literally took this box of chocolate home. My parents were kind of, blue collar workers. They weren't real into, the sports life or anything like that. So I went home, and instead of selling it to my family like they wanted me to at school, my brothers ate them, and I had to go sell some. So I started knocking on doors. Turned out I learned I was a good salesperson. So that's really when it started.
So is that why you dropped out of high school and wanted to become a movie star because of the Elvis thing? Did you get touched by that, or why did that happen?
No, I dropped out of high school because my dad kicked me out of my house for not mowing the lawn like I said I would. So he drank sometimes, and when he got drunk, he was a little bit mean sometimes. Sometimes real happy, sometimes real mean. So he came home one day drunk, and he said, "Thought I told you to mow the lawn." And I said, "I forgot." And he looked at me with those eyes, the mean eyes, and he said, "I think it's time you hit the effing road, slick." No, he said, I think it's
How
time you
old
hit
were
the
you?
16.
16.
Poof.
He said, "I think it's time you hit the fucking road." That's exactly what he said. And then he looked at my friend that was with me, Brian Walker, and he said, "You too, slick." And freaking, we went like this. And thankfully, my buddy was there with a car. So I'm like, let me grab a bag. So I grabbed a bag of clothes, went with my buddy, and never went back. Now, I was still supposedly enrolled in high school, and I was supposed to show up for school. So I got up and went to school. And after about a week of living on couches and hanging out, I'm like, dude, we can go to LA and freaking become movie stars. Like, what are we doing in high school? And I had no parental advice or guidance to say that's a stupid idea. So I quit school. But anyway,
Did you land any roles at least?
Of course I did.
Of course he did. He's a fighter, Gino. He made it happen, big man.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of parts here and there in the beginning. Then I got a starring role in a movie 3 days before production. The producer's son got out of a drug rehab, and the producer literally gave that dude my part not in exchange, but as a reward. So, I learned nepotism a long time ago, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go become a millionaire so I can be the producer, right? That taught me. So the guy with the money calls the shots on the movies, and they can change anything they want. And so I said, well, let me go get the money. So I'm the guy with the money, and no one can call that shot ever again. So I went to go get rich, and I'll be right back type of thing. Like I was like, hey, I'll see you guys soon. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get rich real quick. I'll come right back and make some movies.
And then what was
hold
that
on,
next?
Gino, hold on. We got to pause it here for a second because I feel like the story's coming full circle here. Are you going back into movies or what?
Well, one day, yes, I'm going to finance a couple of films that I will put myself in secretly. and after that, people will either send me scripts or not. The market's going to decide. Like if I ever come out in a movie where I'm not Brad Lea in the movie, I'm a freaking character. Well, go see the movie. If I'm freaking badass, say so. If I'm not, well, then I guess I got a good souvenir for the grandkids.
Well, and you got the Hollywood strike going on, so the door might be opening here for him, Gino. You never know where this goes. There could be some more openings here. So,
yeah.
Well, that Hollywood strike's peculiar timing. You got these videos coming out of these celebrities and elites, doing crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a good excuse to say that ain't me. That's a virtual, version. That's an AI driven bullshit version. That ain't me.
Nothing coincidental here, right? There's there may be
deniability.
Yeah, interesting. Did not think of that.
So Brad, when you left acting, you went down. How did you come up with the idea of Lightspeed? How did you come up with that company? You're 30 years old. What was the genesis of that?
Yeah, well, that was when I was running a car dealership, and I was grabbing people off the street, turning them into badass salespeople. I could drive through a Burger King, and if the drive-through was like nice, I'd say, hey, throw away the apron, fool. Let me show you how you freaking make some money. And then they'd show up, and I'd take a Burger King worker and turn them into a badass salesperson. I mean, selling cars isn't that difficult in the first place, but a lot of people didn't realize you could make 10, 20 grand a month selling cars every single month. Like a lot of people were like, dude, no way. Oh yeah, absolutely. Even in the service department, like, when you pull in to get your car serviced, like those people that come out look like just regular old mechanics or clerks, frick, they're making 200 grand a year, 300 grand a year, selling you all the bullshit. So anyway, I just had the ability to show people how to sell clothes and persuade people on the car lot. So I ultimately started doing it for the dealership I was working for. And there was this guy in the back making minimum wage, so I wanted to help him. So I pulled him up front and, convinced him to let me teach him how to sell. And within 3 months, he was making more money he's ever made. And I watched his whole family kind of perk up and change. And I thought to myself, I want to help people make more money. I've got the ability and the knowledge to help people make more money. Now, 54 years later, looking back, I also know that like my dad was a hard worker. He should have been rich because he worked hard and he did everything, you're supposed to do, but he didn't have the right information. So between that powering me and watching this guy from the back come out front from minimum wage to about 15, 20 grand a month, watched his whole entire life change, his family change, his kids changed. Everybody got happier and brighter and more positive. So I said, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to start a training company where I'm going to go train people. And so that's what made me quit the job. And then when I started training people, it wasn't working very well in the first couple months. And I couldn't figure out why. And I realized there were 4 things that I was doing that now I forgot to do, or I didn't even realize I was doing them. And those 4 things are required if you really want to train your people. Most people aren't training their employees. They're training, athletes. They're training the military, but they're not training employees. Employees don't get trained much. They get exposed, and there's a difference. So the 4 ingredients make that up. You need good content, the right way to do it in the first place. You need practice. You need repetition, and you need accountability. So practice, repetition, and accountability is mandatory if you're actually training somebody. And a lot of times these employees, they don't get repetitious training. They get sent through a class once and that's it. They're told to watch a video once and that's it. Like, that's not training. So once I realized that, I'm like, dude, I got to do this, but I can't do it out on the road because I'd be living at a hotel, because to get that kind of repetition and that practice and that accountability, I have to be there. So I thought, man, there's got to be a better way. And then there was this new thing coming called the internet, the interwebs.
www.
There were companies that didn't have websites. I remember selling websites back during this time where I told a company, if you don't have a website, you're not gonna not seem legit. And that wasn't even true for another 8 or 10 years when I was saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I was ahead of my time. I said, hey, how about the internet? What if we train people on the internet? What if I could, because when I went into a car dealership or a furniture store or wherever I was training salespeople, I'd say the same shit. I wasn't saying anything new every time. I was saying the same shit every time. And I said, why don't I just record this shit, put it on the internet, let them see it? Actually, at first it was a DVD. I can show you some originals. There's some right. Where is that sucker? Right there. The real deal. You see where it says real deal in the back? Right there.
Mm-hmm.
This right here is the first thing I did, CD-ROMs. But the problem is like there was no accountability and I couldn't see who was training and who wasn't. So I put these online and then hooked up the tracking and the measuring. But they had to be interactive because in person I'd ask questions and based on the answers I'd respond. So we built the first, well, I don't know about the first, but no one else was doing this, I'm pretty sure. The first interactive virtual training system that was designed to train people online. So,
and that was Lightspeed.
That's Lightspeed, yeah.
And how old is this?
This was in, well, I mean, I started it in 1999. So
holy shit, I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah, by the time I went out and skidded a little bit and kind of burned my hands, there's got to be a better way. And I went from selling those for about, let's say, 6 months to finding a company that could build me this vision I had. And that company, it took me a while, but at that company, I finally found a dude who's now still my partner this long later, but found a dude and he said, I don't think it's going to work, yada, 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 the old story. But I just kept going and we made it work. And so now here we are 24 years later. I believe, and a lot of people credit me for being the father of the online moving or the online learning space, because this is 99, man. I don't know. I guarantee you there were no learning platforms that you could upload videos and train people with back then. We started it.
Dude, I was in high
And
school.
so
We were learning how to type with race cars. Okay, in 1999, we were learning like literally how to. There was nothing like that coming through. And so, just to understand completely, this was you were trying to train salespeople initially with this, and then saw the need in the marketplace, and this is how Lightspeed actually came to be because you saw that need. Is that what I'm hearing?
kinda, I wasn't that smart. I built it for me. I put my training in it,
I
and I
got
went
you.
out and started selling it. And so I was selling it successfully. I had about 50 or 60 customers giving me right around 1,000 a month each. And I couldn't get many more than that. And every time I knocked on a door, someone would say, we use, Brian Tracy, or we use Zig Ziglar, or we use, in the car business, it was Grant Cardone, Joe Verdi, Tom Stuker, Joe Girard. There was these names in the car business that already had traction. Nobody knew who I was. So when I would hear them say, well, we use this other trainer, I would say, what if I had them? What if I had their content on my platform?
Oh,
And they said, well, then we'd buy it. And I'd say, so you're telling me that if I go get these guys, like if I go get Grant Cardone's content on this, you would buy it? He says, absolutely, but you're not buying it if it's mine. Correct. They love Grant or Joe or whoever they were in love with. And so I just said, man, I got to either compete or collaborate. So I said, let me go close the guy teaching you to close. So I went and closed them all on using Lightspeed. And coincidentally, I already knew what they were trying to do, which was train people. And I already knew you cannot train people without good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. And I knew they weren't given repetition, practice, and accountability because these little workshops and webinars they were doing, those don't offer that. So I knew they were having the same issues I was having. I knew they had problems, and I knew where their customers where potential customers were. So it wasn't very hard to go convince them. I walked up, I said, look at this system. I built it. It's for me. However, I'm running into people that want you. How about we take my name off and my content out, put your name on and your content in, and I'll go tell you where all these customers were, and then you can go sell it to the world. Wasn't that big of a sell. I mean, that's like
What was the deal though back then? Would they bring in a speaker, on a conference call and rev the guys up on a Monday or something like that once a quarter, or what was the training like at that point for these car dealerships? Were they just trying to get the guys in, or would they bring them in once
No,
a quarter
show up.
live?
No, these guys, no, they'd hire somebody once in a while and show up. There was no calls. There was no Zoom.
They weren't doing. Well, I don't know if they're doing like conference calls or something, bringing the sales team in and doing something like that. So they'd actually bring them in live. Yeah, very. That's clunky. Wow. Okay.
They'd come in for a 2-day sales seminar or send us away to one.
Gotcha.
And then we'd come back and everything would be hyped up for about a week, and then we'd go right back into our old ways. Anyone with a business with a team of salespeople know what I'm talking about. I mean, but now again, we created the world's first interactive virtual training system. And it's a system. That's the difference. A lot of people think they have online learning with their company, but they don't. They have videos online. Okay, and videos don't necessarily train you. Like I watch mixed martial arts, it doesn't make me a black belt. You have to have good content, repetition, practice, and accountability, and those systems don't offer that, which means it's not necessarily training, it's just exposing, and that's why it's not very effective. Not only that, there's no accountability, so you don't even know if they logged in, didn't log in, whether they trained, didn't train, whether they understood, didn't understand. Like you don't know much, right? So it's just a place to host a video and let people access it. Well, with a full-blown training system that's designed to give you multiple repetitions of the same information, okay, test you, track you, but it allows you to create interactive content from a regular video, which that was accidental almost because I just demanded it had to do that. And the funny part is now the technology is starting to come out where you can make interactive videos with software. I've been doing it 24 years, and it's like theirs doesn't get tracked or measured. It's just clunky as hell. Ours is perfected. So it saves people hundreds of thousands of dollars in production costs and interactivity stuff. There's just so many ways it works. That's when it started growing. Is like I helped Grant build his. I helped Joe Verdi build his. Then I got Zig.
How many
Ziglar,
years before it started growing, Brad?
What's that?
So you said it was about, I think you said 99 when you started, around 2000. How long did it take before it actually started growing, though, to the point where you started seeing scale with it?
Probably 2007 or 8.
It's a long time to stick with it.
7. Yeah, I wasn't really I swore that in 90 days I was going to be rich. When I started, I said 90 days from now, I guarantee I'm going to be a millionaire. I told everybody. 90 days later, they'd see me. You a millionaire yet? And I'd say, bro, I'm telling you right now, 90 more days, dude, everything is going to be huge. Because I had prospects and people haven't said no yet. And there was just like this pipeline filling up and everybody said yes. Nobody said no. Dude, I'm to the point now where I prefer someone say no than yes someday. Like, I don't want someday shit. I want an answer. Like, you want to do it or not? But because if it's a no, at least you can try and close it. If it's a yes, they're not objecting to anything. They're just saying, yeah, I'll do it, but in a little while. But anyway, so that's how I started that Lightspeed company.
And Brad, when did you realize that the brand is so powerful? When did you start building your own personal brand? Because you saw back then that Grant Cardone had his own brand, Zig Ziglar had his own brand. You have T. Harv Eker. You have you said Joe Girard, which is wrote a great book on
Dude,
car.
it was Jeffrey
Gittimer
Gittimer back then, Gino. Jeffrey Gittimer was the guy back then in sales. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you realize it? When did you start building your brand?
I helped a lot of these guys build their brand.
Yeah.
And I helped them build online revenue that is recurring. And so it's almost like poker chips. It's easy to spend. And I watched them spend it on advertising on social media and building their brand, so to speak. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I just thought to myself, because everyone started following me anyway, because they were wondering, who I was and why I was hanging around with this dude and that dude. So people started following me. So I one day just started making my own content. Here we are. 5 years later, now I'm a million on Instagram, like 2.5 million on TikTok. So probably 4 million altogether.
Wow.
4 million followers.
What's the long game with the branding? Where do you see it going, and what do you want it to do for you?
The long game with the branding is to ultimately build trust with the world. And then you can sell them anything because they trust you, and they'll buy whatever you want them to buy or think they should buy because they trust you. So I just want to build trust, and I've been doing it for a long time. I'm pretty trusted, but I also, the reason I should be trusted and I deserve trust and I warrant their trust is because I'm not going to sell them anything that I don't think can help them. So when I look at certain people across a spectrum, I want something for everybody. So like, for example, people that aren't making at least $300,000 a year. Okay. I've started companies to where not only can I give them the training to make $300,000 a year, mindset, skill set, and the habits. Well, I've even created the companies to put them at, because you already know it's a sales position. You ain't making a bunch of money unless you sell somebody something. So get over yourself. Well, I don't like sales. Dude, you've been selling yourself short your whole life. Okay. You are a professional at sales. You're just not aware of it. Okay. And that's the difference between good salespeople and bad salespeople. The bad ones just don't know they're doing it. So the good ones like wake up and realize they're salespeople. So then they realize you can practice, drill, and rehearse things. You can get skilled at sales and closing. Like, you can become proficient to where the average person talking to you doesn't really, stand a chance when it comes to the, it's almost like mixed martial arts. Like, throw a white belt in with a black belt, 90% of the time they're going to get their ass kicked every time. And why do I say 90? Because there's always flukes and shit. There's always weird stories. But at the end of the day, if you want to, become successful financially in any industry, you're going to need to focus on your mindset, your skill set, and your habits. So I ask you, if you're not making 300 grand a year right now, how they doing? How you doing? Now, some people could be like, I'm doing fine. Money's not everything. And me. There's a mindset issue around money. See, they want to hate on money. They act like money's not the only way to succeed. Nobody said that. My question was, why are you making less than 300? And by the way, I don't know if people realize this, but you got to make at least 300 or more to get out of the rat race. Who wants out of the rat race? I'd love out of the rat race. Okay, well, how do you get out of the rat race? You got to make at least 300. Now, again, is there examples of people that didn't and still made it? Yes. Like I didn't, make it because I made 300. It's the mindset, the skill set, and the habits that you make when you start making more. If you don't realize 300,000 is possible, you got no clue 3 million is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's all mindset, skill set, habits. But the first group of people I want to help, I started these companies. I call them my real group of companies, and real training to where I can take pretty much anybody off the internet, that's not doing that, put them through a training and a little program here, and then give them the job to utilize those skills. So I'd be that one example.
So it's
Now,
almost like HR, or it's like recruiting for folks. You're bringing them in and then finding landing spots for them in a way. Is that right?
well, again, technically, you could look at it that way because all I would say on social
I'm not
media,
demeaning that or saying that's bad. I think it's great. I just want to, understand exactly
well,
what
even
we're
if you
talking about.
did demean it, it wouldn't
Yeah.
affect me at all because
No, I didn't
people
want it to come across like I was being a dick because I think it's
didn't.
awesome.
You
But,
didn't.
yeah.
You didn't. But even if you were, I'd
Yeah.
make you look stupid because who would demean trying to help people get out of the rat race?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A dick, some sort of hater.
That's what I was making
But
sure I
no,
wasn't looking like an asshole, man.
I didn't take it. Like you
Yeah.
see the shirt real right here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a rhino right there. So real is the brand. When you say where do you want to take it? I want to build the brand of being real, being authentic, getting real family, getting a real life. Making real money, finding real health. Real faith. Like make your life real. Pretty much. I haven't fine tuned it and I haven't finalized everything, but that's kind of the gist. So now I can use my reach to help people make more money and get out of the rat race, which is coincidentally why I quit my job in the first place, man. I wanted to help people make more money and I got away from it because, everybody else was wanting these people and these people. So I kind of got away from it and I quit training. And all I did was help the trainers. I built them stages and built them social media channels and helped them grow their training business, and with all that experience, now I'm looking back, I'm like, well, I started out to help people make more money, and I made myself a shitload. And we helped a lot of people through those trainers. So again, I kept justifying like, hey, well, I'm helping these people get trained from this guy, so it's still making them money. But there's a lot more I can give. I've just never given it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna probably drive a lot of this future into creating, let's just call it intellectual property to help people get out of the rat race. Now that's that group of people. Now you start to look, okay, 300 to $1 million. Those people, they can't seem to scale. Well, again, 300 to 7 figures. Okay, well, if you're in that category, well, now I'm going to probably drive you to something to scale your business so we can get you in the 8-figure box, because real comfort comes with 8 figures. A lot of people think 7 figures is all the money in the world. That's not true. I used to believe that once I made $1 million a year, oh boy, I would have everything I wanted. And when I was young, I would always say I'm going to be a millionaire. Now, what I thought in my head was really a decamillionaire or more, because $1 million, if I gave someone $1 million, they probably would blow through it rapidly and it wouldn't change their life much after a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
If they had good financial sense, they could invest that $1 million at, let's say, on a conservative 10%, they'd make $100,000 a year additionally. Well, they were only making $80,000 a year. Well, now they're only making $180,000. That ain't life-changing shit.
Mm-hmm.
You're not flying private on $180,000, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I highly recommend flying private. See what I'm saying? Like, people can hate on this.
You're not flying private at 300 or $1 million either. So,
well, you're getting a lot closer, but no,
you're getting closer, but you're not there.
You are at 8 figures. Like I can fly private whenever I want. My problem is I just can't still sometimes get past the cost.
Yeah.
It's like, you want how much to go from where to where? And then you call first class seats and they're like of fraction. And I'm like, dude, they'll bring warm peanuts and shit and drinks. Like, I don't need
and the
to
plane's
find
a lot
out.
bigger. I know it's
Dude,
so.
just call me a blue collar mindset when it comes to that. Now, do I like doing it? Absolutely. If I had 10 times the money I have, would I do it every time, no matter what? Absolutely. 1000%. I highly recommend everybody do it.
Mhm.
However, it's not realistic. So what can I do about it? Well, fuck, man. I can help people
Can
get
make
out
more
of the
money.
rat race. I can help people get out of the rat race. I can instill confidence in men and show them how to be a man, because there's a lot of men out there, they don't even realize that they are men. Okay? They were brainwashed growing up in the wrong time. Okay? Like the last, couple of generations, dude, they were brought up in a time where like there might be some woke agenda out there that we aren't even aware of, and they
We're aware
literally
of it.
graduated. I know, but like when I was in school, there was no weird ass woke agendas like that.
Yeah.
So now it's like almost like there's dudes out there that don't realize that they have more in them. Like they think it's almost like they were mentally castrated. Some of them.
What happens when you're 80 and when you're 90, and you have
Well, we
generations
die.
of this running the country? That to me is like the breaking point where it can get really scary, because you need men to operate
Right.
a society healthily and successfully. And so to me, I'm looking back saying it's fine now because I can take care of myself, I can take care of my family. But when you do get older, you need people that can maintain the roads, maintain the bridges, handle the infrastructure type stuff, do construction. And it seems like we're getting to a point in the next 50 years, if it keeps going on this trajectory, we're in a hell of a lot of trouble.
Well,
So
here's my
what gives
prediction.
when Brad's 80? What happens? You need more
Well, then
Brads
I
telling men
die,
to be
I
men, I
suppose.
guess. It's the question.
No, I mean when I'm 80 years old, you probably the internet and the youth will probably just be told stories about me because I'll be disappeared.
He's going to the camps. He's going to the camps, baby. Yeah, he's
No,
he's
I will
getting
just
he's
be.
getting yoinked.
No, I mean I'm gonna reach a certain point and then I'm gonna sign off. Hey,
Mhm.
good luck, y'all. See ya, see ya in real life. Get it, real life. Like I ain't fucking with the internet no more.
Yeah.
So what's the prediction? You said there's a prediction. What's your prediction?
Well, see, that's why I interrupt people on my podcast because I'll forget. Now you made me forget. We'd have to go back and talk about what we were talking about.
Oh, the prediction of the next 30 years. What happens when we're 80 years old and we've got people who can't do shit? They can't.
Here's my prediction. My prediction is the trades, the trades are going to go up in price. So, like, you think a plumber is expensive now? Wait.
Yeah.
You think a construction crew is expensive now? Wait.
It's gonna be a luxury.
You think an electrician is expensive now? Wait. Because, dude, AI is going to take a lot of jobs, right? And it's going to create a lot of jobs.
Mhm.
But let's see AI unclog your toilet.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
see
a ways away from robots doing that.
Let's see
Mhm.
AI put a fucking, landscaping at your house. It ain't going to happen. Like AI is thinking, which is going to cause, the work to be more expensive because everyone's going to make their money thinking instead of working.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like people right now are literally creating social media content, getting 1 million followers, and making $5 million a year doing nothing but making content. What do you think? They're going to go work? They're going to unplug your toilet? You think they're going to come put in a lawn? You think they're going to work? Hell no, dude. And more people are starting to make their money digitally.
They're gonna be working with a plumber that's gonna give you a video on Lightspeed and show you
There
how to
won't
do
be
it.
any plumbers,
That's
dude.
where it's going.
There won't be any. And the ones that exist will be able to get all the money.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Like you want me to come over and do some work on your house? You better have a freaking check handy because I'm probably the only one you're going to find for the next 3 months.
Dude, Gino moved to Florida a couple years ago, and he was talking about it there, especially through COVID. He couldn't get shit done on his house for the longest time. And now, not
Except for a roof.
50 years from now. So,
Gino,
what
you didn't have a problem finding someone to put a roof on, did you?
I didn't have to put a roof on, but that was the biggest scam. And everyone's complaining about insurance. Well, all you assholes who scammed the insurance company and put a roof on and got the insurance company to pay for it, now that your insurance went up 60%, you're the problem. You're the ones who scammed the system. Now you're complaining. Don't complain. You stole. There was theft involved in that, and that's what the situation is. They made me change my hot water heaters because they were 15 years old. Really? They're working. They make you change them. So if you don't got the money, like Brad says, you've got a nice house, you think you got it made, then bills are going to be popping up. Let me tell you. Fucking don't get me started on that road. Brad, I want to ask you a question about a piece of content you made the other day, which I thought was phenomenal. You were talking about your W-2 job, you having to go back to it when you were working at Lightspeed. Can you share that story with me and with the listeners? Because I think, to me, everyone thinks starting a business is great. You already said 90 days, but to swallow the pride and to go back and to get a job to continue your business is freaking awesome. I mean, that's what business is all about. It's all about grinding it.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also fairly easy to do because what's the choice? Like, let your business die. So the business wasn't making enough money. At the end of the day, we got rid of everything we could get rid of. We were down to the bone, and it needed money to operate. And if there was no money, well, then we're out of business. So I said, well, I guess I could go get a job where I make a couple, 300-400 grand a year, and then I'll pay those bills through my job. And so that was the only option. So I went and got a job. I told the guy, listen, I'll come in here for 1 year. I'll work here 1 year. And he said, yeah, right. Like I wouldn't quit. Like I would quit after a year. He didn't believe me. Why? Because you can make good money. He's never seen anybody to this day.
What were you doing?
I was a GSM at a car dealership.
Hmm.
Just like right now, if everything crashed, I could go run a car dealership right now and make $500,000 a year anytime I want to. Nothing's changed. There's a little bit of difference, but like I could go take over a car dealership right now, most of them, maybe not a well-ran one, but like a normally ran one, and double and triple its numbers just by getting back to the basics. Why? Because I know how to train people. There's no accountability at these stores. They let salesmen just sit around the front, smoke cigars, tell war stories, waiting for customers. Nobody has to turn anybody. There's no accountability. And they sell X amount of cars and they're making money. So they're like, "Ooh, that was good." They don't realize if they'd have put in some processes, they'd have sold 3 times that many and made 3 times as much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to get a job back in the car business. And by the way, that's why I say when people say, you got to burn your bridges. Dude, you don't have to burn your bridges. Like I didn't burn my bridges. Matter of fact, my bridges were what allowed me to jump. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew if anything went south, I could get a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, why not? I can get a job if I have to have one. And sure enough, 4 years into it, I had to have one. So I went and got one. I think it was 2004. I worked for 1 year to the day, quit on my 1 year anniversary. They wanted to send me to a couple of a GM school and run a store and then run a region of stores for this automotive group. And I said, no, I quit. They said, what? What are you talking about, dude? I was like the golden boy. What are you talking about, man? I said, no, I gotta go work for my company. I'm thinking, man, if I put as much time and effort that I did for you guys for myself, I probably wouldn't have had to do this in the first place. Because I really didn't, go grind my balls off. I've never been a grind your balls off kind of guy. Why? Well, because I don't think you have to. What happens if you died? What happens if you grind your balls off, you miss your family, you grind your balls off, and then you die?
You missed. You
Like,
struck out.
Would you? Yeah, but why couldn't you enjoy a little bit on the way?
Mm-hmm.
You can.
No, you could.
can.
What I'm saying
You
is you
actually
screwed up bad. Like you missed out on life completely because all you did was grind, and there was like probably low
Yeah, who
fulfillment and
wants
enjoyment.
that?
Yeah.
It's like you see these dudes, they're all buff, they got the abs, they got the perfect bodies and their 6-packs and whatnot. People don't realize that a lot of those dudes, they're not healthy. They're not healthy.
It's too much.
It wrecks you getting in that kind of shape, unless of course you do it correctly. So again, I'm not saying that everyone with 6-packs is unhealthy, because here shortly when I start showing mine, I don't want everyone thinking I'm unhealthy.
You gotta have a piece
But
of
what
pizza
I
every
am
once in a while, man.
What I am saying is, if this is a big if, the person with the abs spent their whole life skipping ranch dressing and birthday cake on occasion, I don't want to be that guy, man. I just already decided that. And I don't care what everyone else thinks about my decisions. I don't have allodoxaphobia.
I don't know
You
what
guys
that
know what
is.
allodoxaphobia is?
No, I think there's a
Not
joke
yet.
coming, but I'm not sure.
It's not a joke. You can Google allodoxaphobia. Alexa, what is allodoxaphobia?
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
They don't even know. Google it right now.
That's what I'm telling you, man.
ALL. Hey, Google. Are you on a computer?
Yeah, I can pull it up. Hang on.
Google allodoxaphobia. Allodoxaphobia. It's the fear of other people's opinion.
No shit. I learned
I know
something
a lot.
today. It's like I've
I
learned
know-
multiple things today. This is great. I'll never remember this word, but it is real. We're confirming it here. This is a real term, folks. All right.
What's the definition of
Allodoxo.
It stands for where. Oh, Jesus. The expression allodoxy is a fear of having other people's opinions. The fear of hearing, other people's opinions. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so allodoxaphobia, dude, we're worried about what everybody else thinks and what everyone else's opinion is. It's like, and that a lot of times stops us from making moves that we should be making. So I am cured of allodoxaphobia.
It's aka Instagram-itis. So and so's got this on the gram. So and so's got this, and we've seen that with a lot of the young guys that have come through our organization too, with the get their itis stuff, because they're getting pressure from these social media outlets that they got to be they're 25 and they got to be the same place that the guy that's 40. And there's some time to learn, and you're talking about what you're saying about learn, train, repeat, etc. And look, you sometimes got to go through it. It's not going to happen overnight, and putting the work in is okay. And so some of these young guys, man, just look, you're going to get there. Keep your head down, keep grinding, but you can also burn the organization out in the meantime by getting crazy with this shit. So,
dude, if you never arrive because you burnt yourself out, what's the value? All I'm saying is you don't have to grind your face off. Now, again, it's also subjective what grinding your face off is.
Yes.
People said the other day,
10 hours a day is not a big deal. That's not grinding your face off to me. So,
yeah, they said to me, they said, Brad, what are you talking about? You grind your face off. You just said you don't believe in it. And I said, I don't grind my face off. And they said, dude, you're here every single day, 7 days a week. Yeah, mostly. Okay. And you're here from like 8 or 9 in the morning till 5 or 6 at night. And I'm like, banker's hours. Like, dude, there's a lot of life between, there's a lot of life outside of 9 to 5.
yeah,
people.
no shit.
I mean, there's people that could literally start a whole nother company, but not if I said to you, you cannot start a company between the hours of 9 to 5. Could you start a company?
We did. We started multifamily. So I had a restaurant and I got into multifamily.
Both of us
doing
were
it.
working
So-
full-time jobs
like-
as we were getting into apartments. So we did the double dip, but
Yeah.
then we pulled back. So and there
now
was times where fucking 15 hours a day. Didn't like it. Was pressing pretty fucking hard to get here where I am today. But now I'm able to work 6 to 6.
Yeah, but there were also some times that when you wanted to spend 3 extra days at the lake, you did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See,
And then
I don't
well,
like being
instead
told-
I just bought the house on the lake and I'm living here now. But yes, I agree with you. That's right. So that's how
Yeah,
Jake,
but
for-
there's trade-offs, but the point is you're not grinding your face off if you're spending 3 days at the lake.
Mhm.
That's what my point is it's subjective. Like some people be telling you, oh, you take 4 vacations a year, you're not grinding your face off. Well, I'm not claiming I'm grinding my face
Yeah.
off. I'm claiming the opposite. Why?
Mhm.
Because I watched my dad go through life grinding his face off only to have nothing financially. I always tell people we were so poor at Christmas one Christmas. He couldn't afford presents. So he just cut a hole in the pocket so I'd have something to play with.
dude, come on, man.
He must be Italian, your father. My dad would put that shit to me too. So, Jake, real important question for me before we go to the short answers. How did you cure yourself of allodoxaphobia?
I call that the sacred 6, and by the way, that's one of the things I'm going to bring these folks. I'm going to teach them how to, at your event out there, I'm going to teach everybody there that wants to learn how to build a personal brand. Guaranteed if they just do it. The problem is most won't do it. So I have to literally teach them how to get rid of allodoxaphobia first. Because if you do have allodoxaphobia, you're not building a personal brand, folks. Sorry. You need to have some huevos. Now, women will be like, oh, that's rude. No, women can have balls. I know a girl that has bigger balls than any guy I know.
I
Only
know
when
a few
balls,
of them. Actually,
only when balls mean courage.
that's
Now,
right.
why do balls mean courage? Why do balls equal courage? I have no clue.
It's been in the lexicon. Who gives a shit? We're not worried about that crap, right?
Bottom line is I wasn't at that meeting to vote that in. Like, to me, balls should be the opposite of courage. Like, balls just hang there and hope they don't get brushed.
And they hope they don't get hit.
Yeah, they're sitting there afraid of the wind. Like, they're not very courageous body parts. But at the end of the day, I get it. So a woman can have balls, yes.
Love that.
All right, so
Hey, by the way, I forgot to ask if we can talk like that on this podcast.
A little too late for that.
Gino's the nice guy. I'm sure he'll have it edited out. So when it comes to the allodoxaphobia and the exposure, because you've been pushing your brand pretty hard, how do you deal with it? Because you're talking cancel culture, you're talking haters, and I don't care who you are, because if you're Donald Trump, you heard the stories about him, who he doesn't like that stuff, but he deals with it, right? And how do you personally deal with it? Because I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure you've had haters. I'm sure you've had people out there threatening cancel and things, and I'm sure you've had negative shit said about you online. That's almost impossible not to put yourself out there. So how do you personally deal with that? Because frankly, it sucks. I think Gino, myself, we've dealt with things before. It's not great. How do you personally deal with that?
Well, number one, you said you've been pushing your brand pretty hard. I don't push my brand. I'm about to. No one's ever seen me push my brand.
I'll bring the pain.
What's that?
I said, bring the pain. I mean, we've seen you out there. I think you're doing well with it.
Yeah,
so hats off.
That's not me pushing a brand. That's just me posting consistently.
Yeah.
I'm about to push, and that means
Woo.
I'm in your face, friends. And then people are going to get tired of me. People are going to hate me that don't even know me right now. But how I deal with haters is very simple. There's two things that I talk about. Number one, I remember this speaker that I knew that was 100% real, nicest dude you ever want to meet, does so good for the community, does nothing but good for people, right? He's a great person. I was sitting in an audience one time. They don't know that I knew the dude. The dude walks out. The dude leans over and says, I hate this fucking guy. He thinks he's so fucking cool. And I'm looking at him like, how do you know him? And he says, I don't want to meet that prick. I don't know that prick. I don't want to meet that prick or some shit like that. I'm like, Oh, you don't know him?
Yeah.
You don't know him? You don't know him? They said, no, I don't know him. I said, huh. And right there, it made me realize, number one, you're never going to make everybody happy. No matter what you say, you're never going to make everybody happy. So if you're not going to make everybody happy, now you have to choose. Who are you going to make happy? Well, you could choose these people or those people, this person or that person. Or, and by the way, still be possibly in the wrong, still possibly screw up. There's only one person you can choose that you'll never be wrong. You. So it's like you realize, just make yourself happy. Quit worrying about the rest of those people. Like, dude, if they're not happy, whatever. Like, whatever. You're not here to make them happy. Your responsibility is not to make them happy. Like, dude, I post hoping that I'm providing somebody value. Then you get someone talking shit. I don't even look at it. Matter of fact, I snicker a little bit. Like, what an idiot. Like, you would take your time to go say something negative to a dude that's doing nothing but trying to help people avoid the same shit he stepped in.
I just can't believe these people got time for this shit. I don't know what the fuck you're doing all day.
This guy's just trying to sell snake oil. It's like, bro, I don't know what you mean by snake oil. I can just assume that you mean bullshit, because what the fuck is snake oil? Okay, now I don't sell snake oil, and I don't even know what snake oil is. But when someone says, "Oh, he's a snake oil salesman," sounds like, oh, he sells bullshit. Dude, number one, I don't sell no bullshit. Okay, zero bullshit I sell. Okay, I can put money on anything I do against anybody. Like, there's nobody on the planet that can say I sell bullshit, period. And see, that's how you get integrity, and that's how you have ethics. And next thing you know, that's how you can stand up and not worry about other people's opinion. You know why? Because I don't need your opinion to know I'm a good dude. Why? Because I am a good dude. And I'm a good dude when nobody's watching.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
how you get around allodoxaphobia. You become a good person even when nobody's watching, and you convince yourself you're fucking worth something. You want to raise your net worth, raise your self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty well said. I think it's definitely a challenge for a lot of folks out there. Gino, you ready to bring us home?
Hey, by the way, now I got to come up with all kind of new shit to come out to the talk with. You guys took all my best points right now.
You gotta listen, man. You gotta work it here. So, G-Dad, you ready?
Jake, if you give me a minute to hey, I want to recap a story because it's an interesting story. I mean, at 16 years old, his dad tells him to get lost, to take a hike. He's got to go to L.A. He wants to star in some movies. He finds out that the movie business is just as corrupt and as the politics business. He sees the person with the money or with the gold makes all the rules. So he decides to himself, I've got to start making money. I'm going to be rich. Starts the company at 30 years of age, and every 90 days he's telling people he's going to make some money. He's going to make money. But at the age of 34, he's got to swallow his pride, and he says, I got to go back to work. I've got to find a job. And for 12 months, that's all it takes. I'm going to take that 12-month job. After 12 months, I'm quitting. He quits at the age of 35 and continues along his path. And what I loved most about anything, Jake, about the story is that he really created a product that brings tremendous value to the marketplace. He wasn't thinking about providing for his family. He wasn't thinking about becoming a millionaire. And if he was, he wouldn't have been able to create this kind of business. I think people get into business for their own needs, not for the needs of their customers. And that's one thing I like about Brad's stories. When he started Lightspeed, he was thinking about how he can build other people's brands and how he can help other people train. And he's learned from those lessons, from those years. He's building other people's personal brand, whether it's Grant Cardone, whether it's Zig Ziglar, whether it's Joe Girard. And then he finally says to himself, I got a shit ton to offer. So how do I do that for myself? How do I create my personal brand? And that's what he's going to be doing at MM6, teaching you how to create your personal brand. And I think the integrity piece, looking within and saying, I'm going to do what I say. I'm going to say what I do. And even when Jake's not looking at me, I'm going to continue to do that. And I think that allodoxaphobia is a funny word, but you got to get over yourself. Life's too short to take yourself too seriously. And if you're out there just thinking about providing content for others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Damn. Yeah. That was well put, Gino.
Thank you, Brad. Well, I mean,
believe me, I always listen just to. Nope. You got that wrong, but you got it all right so far, and you're 100%.
I've been watching you on what I love most when you put your stuff out there. You say 98% of the stuff you say, I believe, I agree with you. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
What part don't you agree with?
Well, I give the 2% because there might be a fluke, right?
That's what I'm not aware of one. So why don't you say 100% until you find one that you don't?
Because it's the same thing with the black belt and the white belt. 90% of the time, the black belt's going to win. All right, so just to volley back on that one.
That's why when people say, "Do you trust your wife?" Mostly.
he said 90% of the time until a black belt steps in, then I got to step aside.
By the way,
that's all right.
Here's how you know. So do you trust your wife? Say, I don't know. Has she ever been to a Dan Bilzerian party?
Yeah, hopefully my wife doesn't know who he is, so we'll see. Right?
If your guys' wives know who he is and has been to his party,
yeah, she might have picked up allodoxaphobia there, so you might want to get her tested, right?
Yeah,
fair enough. Hey,
listen, I'm going through the most entertaining book I've ever read.
Tell us.
It's called The Setup. The Setup by Dan Bilzerian.
You got it.
Gino's read just about everything. I don't think he's read that one.
Dude,
I've not read that one.
Setup by Dan Bilzerian. It's a book this thick. I said, hey, I know a buddy that knows him. I said, get Dan on my podcast. He said, hey, Dan said he'll come on your podcast, but you got to read this book. So he sends, I buy his book, leather bound version of it, nice ass collector's copy because Dan's cool no matter what. So I buy this leather bound book. It's thicker than the Bible. And I'm like, yeah, I can't read that in a freaking sitting.
They got the audio version of it.
So I waited and 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 I waited. And I'm like, I guess I ain't having Dan on the podcast because I'm not reading that damn tome. That's like I'd be 70 years old reading that book. And then I saw it on audio when I was scrolling through the other day, and I'm like, oh shit, there it is. I go, because it wasn't on audio when he told me. I hit the button. dude, I can't stop. Like I want to get off this and hit play again.
Is this 72 hours? How long is the thing? It must be like,
Oh, it's a long time, dude. And I'm telling you what, he's giving you stories. And dude, I don't know if I'll bet you $1 million it's not trumped up at all. It's amazing, this dude's life. Like again, I asked myself, like, I miss that, man. When I was young, I wasn't rich, and now I'm a family man. So like, I don't enjoy having 5 girls at once. I wouldn't enjoy that. Now, you know what I'm saying by that? In other words, like,
yes.
I'm not claiming I'm an angel. Like, what dude wouldn't?
Dude, there's a
enjoy
tipping
that?
point at 30. Okay, there's a tipping point with males at 30. You get past 30, things change a little bit. All right, the
Yeah,
energy
that's what I'm
isn't
talking
there.
about. It's like, dude, I miss those days, but I love hearing about them. I love listening.
Doesn't make it
to
any
his
less
stories.
interesting.
Well, dude, he's just like, he's talking about celebrities and people, and like Paris Hilton was over at his house a couple times, and like he's just telling you these freaking stories. That's like, no way can this shit be true, but it is true, and it is a epic life. Like if he died right now, he would have a more epic life than people that live to 100.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's lived more lives than 100-year-old men.
He was a SEAL
but
too, right?
That's rap. He didn't know.
He was close to being a SEAL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, that's why I brought him up. But go get that book. It's a good book, man.
Done.
You guys know I have a book too, don't you?
Yes.
Hit us with it. Hit us with it and where we can get it.
It's called, well, I don't, sometimes I'll get a check like, for $620, and I'll be like, what's this for? And they'll be like, you sold some books. And I'll be like, oh, how many did I sell? Like, 300 or something. They're like, 20,000. I'm like,
Yeah, here's
and
your
I got
shekels.
$600. Shit, that don't work. Amazon gets it all. But
do.
you can go to Amazon and you can find it. It's called The Hard Way, but it's really officially titled Lessons I've Learned the Hard Way, so you don't have to. So if you type in The Hard Way, it should pop up. If it doesn't for some reason, which I don't think it will, it's called Lessons I Learned the Hard Way, so you don't have to. And the funny thing about my book is it's not this thick. It's about this thick. I think it's like 167 pages or something like that. When you read it, you'll know I wrote it, every word of it. And when I get Dan on the podcast, I'm going to ask him if he wrote every word of that book.
He did not.
He couldn't have. But if he did, again, another impressive thing that man's done. But I wrote my entire book. Every word's mine. And the cool part about it is you're going to learn these lessons one way or the other. The question is how much is it going to cost you?
Mm-hmm.
And how long is it going to take you? Mm-hmm. So what I tell people is get my book, especially on the younger side. Some 55-year-old guy might read it and be like, yep. I knew all that. Okay, good. What do you think? They'll be like, dude, it was freaking awesome. So it's helping everybody, but it's helping especially people that haven't really learned life yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like choosing money over relationships. I use Grant Cardone's story for that. Like when I first closed Grant, I made the deal with him. And the deal was, based on I get a piece of his revenue. And I will show him how to do it and build him a system. And, all I want is my little piece. I called it a piece for my niece, a fraction of the action, a tad for Brad.
If the glove don't fit, it quit. We heard about this today. We got it.
A slice because I'm nice. So he agreed. And then we went out and built a company that was doing $5 million a month. And then he didn't necessarily want to give me my piece. So he said, I'm going to give you half. And I said, like hell you are. And then he said, well, dude, like I paid you a lot of money. And I said, dude, I don't give a rat's dick. I'm growing quite accustomed to the monthly check side. So I chose the money, and then that caused the stress in the relationship. And, it ended up to where what I should have done was said, no problem, dude, no problem. It's still a lot of money. I've made a lot of money with you so far. Appreciate everything you're doing. I'm down with you, not the money, not the size of the paycheck. I'm down with you. It's the relationship I care about. Don't worry about the money. If I would have just done that, I would have made millions more than I've made. Now, did I do okay by myself? Sure. I'm not saying people can't survive by themselves. I'm saying I would have done better had I chose the relationship over the money. I chose the money over the relationship. And in a lot of times, we all do. And I say, if you choose money over relationships, soon you'll have neither.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know that. That's interesting. So, okay, we talked about Lightspeed a little bit. Last question. So if folks want the hub where if they want to get into sales early on or they need help scaling, what's the best place to go?
Well, I mean, again, I haven't finalized all my programs because a lot of people think I sell these programs. I don't. I run Lightspeed. I have real merchant services, credit card processing because everyone's getting ripped off in their credit cards. So I started real merchant services, give people jobs. They can go out and make recurring revenue. Recurring revenue is where it's at, by the way. But I don't run that, but I just kicked that off. I got Real Financial. I've got Real Solar. I've got various companies to where when someone comes through, I can get them placed at a place where they can actually make that money. Because I can teach you how to sell and close and persuade. And if you go sell shit that you're not going to make 300 grand, you're not going to be able to make 300 grand. You know what I mean? Even if you're a good salesperson, it's hard to make 300 grand in some industries. Well, some industries, it's not hard at all. So I'm aligning those industries. So when I'm ready, and by the way, that's why when I said you haven't seen nothing yet, because I'm about to push my brand. I've never really pushed it because I was just building trust. I haven't really monetized it very well.
Mm-hmm.
On occasion, I'll do an event and boom, it'll sell out. And people pay me to come speak, like decent amount of money. So, and I've already done like 24 this year, I think. So it's, that pays, but the personal brand pays like you wouldn't believe. But what it allows you to do is quickly build and scale companies. It's the craziest thing. So what was your question?
No, I was just wondering. So for the folks that are listening, you mentioned the book, and I was wondering if there was a hub where folks want to find out more, if they want to get started with you, where they can go.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't really have anything to sell you, but you can go to bradlea.com and put your name on my list. That way, when I do have something to sell you, I'll be able to email you. Because what if social media crashes? What if they kick me off? I get canceled. When you have those lists, well, now you can communicate with people even without social media.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do is drive everybody to my Lightspeed platform or my email. That way, if social media kicks my ass off the internet like they have other people, I can still get in touch with the people that want to be in touch with. So if you want me to, help you or you need help, go to there, put your name in. And go to my website. Anytime you wonder what's Brad up to, 9 times out of 10, it's on my website. It's either on my website or my social media. So follow me and hit me up at bradlea.com.
No, I think it's smart. You don't want to be in control, by Meta and then have them fucking wax your ass. So, gang, as always, we believe in buying deals for the long term. Think in decades. I'm Jake. He's the G Daddy, and we make it happen. We'll see you next time.